This video is about the rape culture myth, and I'm going to explain to you my opinion on this matter. First of all, I'm going to tell you about when I was in college. I went to a state school. We had around 15 to 20,000 students, and I attended for at least 4 years. And in the 4 years that I was there, there was one event when rape was talked about on campus. And what happened was a girl was in the computer science building. She went to the bathroom. The lights were off in the bathroom. She turned the lights on. It had to have been at night. And there was an Asian man in the bathroom with the lights off. And when she saw him, she screamed and she ran. And that's it. She did not accuse him of raping her. She did not report a rape, and she did not even report that he had touched her. She just saw him in the bathroom and ran. This led to the most widespread panic of rape accusations on campus that you could ever imagine. What women started doing was they started leaving voicemails on the messages of all other women, talking about how they're all going to get raped and how they shouldn't go out on campus alone, or they shouldn't go out at night, and every man is a rapist, and they would be yelling and screaming and demanding that these women forward these voicemail messages to everyone else. And again, I was there for 4 years. This was the only time that it happened. And the whole point is the rape never even happened, and people went ballistic. Over the 4 years, a non-rape caused people to go ballistic, but why didn't people go ballistic any other time? I don't believe that there was a rape culture on campus. I think it's a complete myth. Okay, another reason why I believe this is because there's a lot of females in my family. I have a sister, I have a mother, I've got a lot of cousins that are women, lots of aunts, and grandmother, etc. And we are a close family. We were a close family when I was growing up until the age of 18. We all lived in the same city. 15 minutes apart was the longest we had to drive to see someone. We all visited each other on a regular basis. If someone had been sexually assaulted or raped in my family, my mother would have known about it. And not only would someone have told my mother would have immediately told me, because my mother told me all sorts of weird things about the family history, what was going on with other people, things that happened at work, things that she had done, experiences with the neighbors, etc. My mother never would have hid that. She was open to me about everything. She was an ultra feminist, and she never ever said that any woman in the family, I never heard any such thing, that any woman was sexually assaulted or raped in the family. But we're told that 2 out of 3 women are raped and every man is a rapist. It's just nonsense. So I lived in New York City for 7 years, and I lived in Long Island for 7 years, and in those 2 places for 14 years, you get the New York City news. And New York City and Long Island, New York City alone is like 10 million people. And there was only one time that someone was in the news for rape. He was called the Upper East Side Rapist. I searched for it on Google, and it was the first result, Upper East Side Rapist. And I'm pretty sure they caught the guy. And you see, this is around the time it happened. And I remember the story. I don't know how many victims there were, but I don't think it was that many. Over here it says 51 attack. I don't think that's the same story. So the whole issue is, over 14 years to hear one guy in the news is a rapist, that doesn't sound like a rape culture or a rape epidemic. So now here's another issue, which is huge. Results indicated that 62% of women have had a rape fantasy. 4 times per year. 14% reporting they had rape fantasies at least once a week. I knew about this statistic when I was younger. Women like to daydream about being raped. They like to daydream about strange men having sex with them against their will. This is a common fantasy, and you can and I'm sure I heard about it before 2009. If you go and research rape fantasy among women, you're going to find that this is commonplace. They are imagining this rape culture. Now I'm going to show you this page, and you see all these great statistics. It says everyone's a rape victim, and everyone's going to be raped. And like over here, it says 1 of every 6 women attempted or completed rape. I don't believe that this is true. You have to watch out for these types of things. It looks pretty and everything, but you don't know how they came up with these numbers. You really want to use government statistics. Even this is questionable, even though it might be more accurate. You want to use government statistics, and the government statistic is 2 rapes per 1,000 people. That is not a rape culture. It's not even 1%. It's a fraction of a percent. I'm going to use an example of why you can't trust these statistics. There was a question about people. They would say something like 30% of people are below the poverty line, and they only asked one question, and the question was, have you ever skipped a meal because you didn't have money? And I said, yes, of course, but certainly I'm not below the poverty line. There have been times in my life when I didn't eat a meal because I didn't have money with me. That doesn't make me below the poverty line. And when you have these studies, they will ask very vague questions, and from that they will deduce something that is not that has nothing to do with the question. You know, by their definition, everyone has been a victim of rape. You know, it's very, very vague. The other thing that they do is they always say rape and sexual assault. They mix the two together. Rape is a fraction of sexual assaults. When you combine the two, it makes it look like there are more victims of rape than there really are. But the fact remains is that when you remove sexual assault and you only talk about rape, the numbers go down dramatically. This is being done to mislead people. Just because they have sources doesn't mean you should believe any of this. You see how it has this 15 over here and it has all these sources? Go read the sources yourself, because see, for example, over here, it's talking about, okay, skip that. But what you'll find is that they will go to this source and they will pick a statistic that they like that tells their story. I'm going to give you an example. There was a UK story, this was in Britain, where it said 48% of victims of violence are women. And I thought it was the absolute dumbest statistic I had ever heard, because 52% of victims of violence are men. I mean, why would they publish such a statistic? They're selective about the statistics to paint a picture that makes no sense. So don't trust these things. Go and read the source and look, number one, to see if the information is accurate, because they will often misrepresent what it says. They'll interpret it differently. And number two, see if there's additional information that counters what they're claiming. This is a graph that shows, like over here it says 2 per 1,000. This basically says like 4 per 1,000 or something like that. Maybe it's using the older statistic over here where it says 5 per 1,000. Okay, so don't believe everything you hear. It's insulting when women say that there's a rape culture. It's just absolutely not. Men are never talking about it. You're basically accusing all men of being rapists. I asked a woman once, this was a long time ago, I said, if you had a son, would he be a rapist? And she said yes. You know, there are women that believe that every woman will be raped once in her life, and it's just absolute nonsense.